There are plenty of rules that you need to follow as a cruiser, but not all of those rules are written down. Ahoy, travelers! It's Amy with Cruising from the Ozarks here with another Tuesday tip to help you make your vacation a success. The unwritten rules of society help people get along in most situations. And these rules are often either observable or they're passed down from someone familiar with that specific society or group. Oftentimes, your family members will explain the unwritten rules of society. Sometimes it may be a coworker if you're in a new environment, like a work environment. The cruising community is not exempt from these rules. And people who've never been cruising before need to be made aware of these rules prior to boarding their first ship. One of the first things that we're going to talk about is the elevators. Now, this would actually apply to places with elevators outside of cruise ships, except for most places aren't quite as busy as a cruise ship. It can be crazy busy at certain times of the day prior to disembarking at a port or before dinner time or before a show. The elevators get very busy, and there's quite a few of them, but it's usually a very large space with multiple elevators. And some people just do not have patience. You've got to wait for people to get out of the elevator before you jump into an elevator. And I don't know what people's problem is. They're just so worried that they're going to not be the first person onto the elevator that they are stepping over people in wheelchairs. Let people get out, especially those with mobility issues. Let them out and let others get in safely. And if you are waiting with someone who has a mobility issue, let them go first. Don't be cutting in front of the lady on a scooter. It's very rude and it goes against all unwritten rules of society, especially cruising society. If you talk to anybody who's been on a cruise, they will have experienced something negative with elevators at some point. People who jump in and they try to hit the close button so that nobody else can get in. There's all kinds of things that you will see people do. And these people act like they've never been out in polite society before. It's very frustrating to be with them on an elevator. And just don't be that person. Treat others as you would have them treat you and be polite. Make sure you're letting someone get off of the elevator on that floor before you try to get in. Most people aren't going to jump in front of you, so it's not a huge rush. And even if you miss that elevator, there's going to be one coming within another minute or two. It seems like you're waiting for a long time, but you're really not. Now, the next big thing is the buffet. There's a lot of unwritten rules around the buffet. And to be quite honest, I don't eat at the buffet. That's not a place that I usually go to. I have a couple times just go in and grab one thing here or there, but I just don't really like eating at the buffet. It's crowded and it's just not my thing. But when you go into the buffet, there are some unwritten rules. And number one is you should wash your hands. Some cruise lines have little hand washing stations, and others will have hand sanitizer. And sometimes they do have a sign that says, please wash your hands, but usually nobody's there making sure you do it. You need to do it. And regardless if you've washed your hands or doused it with hand sanitizer, don't touch anything with your hands. Don't reach over and grab a piece of bread. Do not get a spoonful of something and sniff it. And please don't be Cousin Eddie and get a spoonful, pick something up, taste it, and set it back. Oh my gosh. The stories that you will hear about what people will do in a buffet will gross you out. And it's part of why I don't go to buffets. You've got to realize that you're not the only person eating this food, okay? So you don't touch anything. There should be tongs there. You pick things up with the tongs or with a spoon and put it on your plate. Now, the other thing is you always get new dishes every time. You don't bring your old dirty dish back into line to get more food, okay? Nobody wants to see that. They've got plenty of dishes. drop your old one off. There'll be stations for that, or leave it on the table, and then go and get a new clean plate or a new bowl or whatever you're using to get more food. The next thing is, don't cut the line. Just because you're like, oh, I just was going to grab this one thing, or I forgot to grab a piece of bread, or can I just jump in real quick and grab this? No, you don't do that. You get in line and to get your food. If you forgot something, too bad, get back in line. You just want that one piece of bread and you don't want to wait in line for all the stuff. Well, you're either going to have to wait in line for your piece of bread or don't get it. It's rude, it's disrespectful, don't cut in line. The next unwritten rule revolves around the crew. And it's only really one rule: treat them well. These are the people that are doing their best to make your cruise great. You know, they're serving you, they're cleaning your room, they're changing your sheets, they're getting you fresh towels, they're cooking your food. Whatever it is, they're doing it, and they're doing it for you. Yes, they're being paid, but still. These people are not your servants, okay? You need to treat them like human beings. And you'll hear stories of people being on a cruise and hearing someone speak to a crew member like they are trash, like they are a slave. You need to be treating them well like you would in any other service industry. And when you're done with your cruise, you're going to get a survey. You're going to get a survey and you think, oh, I don't want to fill this out. This is a waste of my time. I don't care. Done. No. Fill your surveys out and list any crew member that you feel went above and beyond or did something special for you or made you feel extra special in some way. If you want to give them some kind of acknowledgement, you need to put their name down on that survey. For many, the crew say that they would prefer this over a tip, because this is how they get promotions. This is how they get promoted onto bigger ships. This is how they get promoted into a higher level of their job. So you need to put that information down on your survey. And the good thing to do is anytime you come in contact with a crew member and you're dealing with them one-on-one, and you're like, okay, I really, felt like this person was really helpful. Tell them, just say, hey, I'd like to give you a shout out on the survey at the end of the cruise. Can I get your name? And you can often take a picture of their name badge or write their name down. And that way, they not only know that you're going to do this for them, but you're going to have that information so you don't forget. It's very important. Your next unwritten rule has to do with the laundry room. Now, just like going to the laundromat on land, you don't leave your clothes longer than the current cycle will take. Personally, I have never used a laundry on a ship. I bring enough clothes. I've not had to use one, but if I did, I would just stay there until my clothes were done. Ships are big. You're probably not going to get to go anywhere for long enough to leave. But if you are going to leave your clothes and walk off, you better be back before that cycle is finished. Because we all know the rules of the laundromat are, if you walk in and you need a washing machine and they're all full, but these three over here have stopped working, you're within your right to take the wet clothes out and set them on a table somewhere. And personally, I don't want anyone touching my clothes. So just be vigilant. Make sure that you're there when the cycle stops, whether it's the washing machine or a dryer, that you're there to remove your clothes and nobody's waiting on you. That's just polite, regardless if you're on a ship or on land. If you've made it this far, you should consider subscribing to the channel. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it really helps our channel out and helps other cruisers know that our channel has content worth viewing. We're a new channel, and so for us to get out there to cruisers, we need people like you to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future posts. Your next unwritten cruise rule is something that is kind of specific to cruising. This is not something you really deal with even in hotels in the same manner. So it has to do with dirty dishes. What do you do with those dirty dishes? Okay. And this depends on where they came from. Did you order room service? If you ordered room service, you may want to actually ask your room steward what they would prefer for you to do. I know on Carnival, they ask you to actually put the food outside your cabin room into the hallway, up against the wall, cover it with a napkin so that people who are walking up and down the halls don't have to look at your gross, dirty old food. But they want it outside because they send people around to pick up these dishes specific times during the day. And it's not your room steward that's always doing it. It's someone from the kitchen area that's coming up and actually going around floor by floor and picking up anything that's outside in the hallway. This prevents problems with your room steward then having to, when they're cleaning your room, find all these old dishes and get them to the kitchen, which is not somewhere they would normally be headed. So ask your room steward, what's the policy? What's the procedure on your cruise line? Does it stay in the room? Is it supposed to stay in the room? Or is it supposed to be put in the hallway outside of the room? Just ask and find out. It's not that hard. How about if you go get a drink at a bar or you take a cup from the buffet? There's usually like free tea and maybe juice, water in some of the buffets. What do you do with that cup? Honestly, you just leave it anywhere. There are people that are walking around the ship cleaning up and picking up stuff like that all the time from anywhere. So you could go and get a drink from a bar and then you take it to a lounge somewhere that you're wanting to see something that maybe like music's playing. You can leave it where you got it. You don't have to take the cup back to the bar that you got it from. The only thing that tends to be different is the MDR oftentimes will have specific cups and glasses and plates. And so they don't like those leaving. But everything else is pretty much the same across the ship. And so you can just take it wherever you're going or leave it on a table somewhere and somebody's going to pick it up. The next unwritten rule is don't be late. Now, I know that there are people out there that are like, it's my vacation. I'll show up whenever I want to. I'm not going to stress out. It's my vacation. Look, there are plenty of things that you can do on a ship that doesn't matter if you walk in late, that you don't have to be there at a certain time. But there are other places that you need to be there on time so that you're not causing problems for everybody else. So one of those places is the main dining room if you have chosen early or late seating. So if you're doing like an anytime dining, then you can show up whenever you want to. But if you are scheduled for a specific time, like early dining or late dining, then you need to be there when it starts. In fact, if you show up too late, they won't even let you in anymore. So you need to come in when you're supposed to be there. And if for some reason you're going to have problems and you can't make it because it's a short day and you're on an excursion and you're going to get back too late for early dining and that's what you're scheduled for, then you don't get to eat in the dining room that day. That's a buffet day for you. Or maybe you schedule specialty dining somewhere or you go get a pizza, but you don't show up to the MDR late. You don't show up to shows late. It's rude. And it's especially rude if you're going to show up to the show late and then try to walk down to the front and find a seat in the front. There's not a seat in the front. People who want to sit in the front, they get there 30 minutes early, an hour early sometimes. Don't show up to the show late and then wander around loudly trying to find a place to sit. Okay, that's rude. If you're going to show up late to a show, you better stay in the back. The other thing is excursions. And not only should you not show up late for an excursion, oftentimes you can't show up late for an excursion. If you show up late, you will get left behind. There's some wiggle room, 10 minutes, sometimes 15 others, but every minute that you're late to that excursion is taking time from everybody else that's going with you on that excursion. You only get so much time at port. It's not like, oh, if we leave 15 minutes late, we'll get back 15 minutes late. That's not how that happens on excursions. In fact, I've heard stories where people had maybe they had 4 stops. Like they got on a bus and they had 4 different stops along their tour. And they were supposed to take 30 minutes at each stop, whatever it was. They get out, they're told, be back here at exactly this time. And there were people that were late every single time. They were 15 minutes late every time. And so when they got to that 4th stop, they only got 10 minutes. And they were told, if you're late for this one, we're leaving you because we have to get back to the ship. So when you're late for an excursion, this is affecting everybody. It's not just you, unless you're the only person on that excursion. The best rule to remember is definitely an unwritten rule, and that is just to be respectful. Be respectful of others. It should go without saying that being respectful would easily cover all unwritten rules. And the old adage is to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It rings very true when aboard a ship with thousands of other people. Most problems that you're going to have that involve other passengers will be the result of some person's selfishness, whether it's yours or the other person. Some people have this mentality that this is their vacation and they will do as they please. Now, that might be fine if you're vacationing in a remote mountain cabin, but it's not acceptable attitude to have when vacationing on what is essentially a floating resort. Yes, it's your vacation, and that should take it very far into allowing you to do all kinds of things that you want to do on a ship. Ships are designed, this is why cruising is so amazing. Ships are designed to have so many things available to do that it's impossible to be bored. It's impossible to not find something that you will like. And if you don't find something you like, it's because you really didn't try hard enough. But for almost everybody in the world, there is something to do on a cruise ship that you're going to enjoy. So yes, it's your vacation. And yes, you should go out there and enjoy it. But doing so in a selfish, self-centered way that then affects the vacations of those around you, that's rude. That's disrespectful, and it's breaking the number one unwritten rule of being respectful of others that are around you. A good thing to always remember is that our reaction to any given situation is a choice. You can choose to get upset and angry when someone accidentally bumps into you, or even if they intentionally cut the line at the buffet. This is your vacation. Try not to let the actions of others ruin it. You will be happier and enjoy your cruise more if you make a conscious choice to not let things bother you. I say this as much for myself as for anyone else. I'm the type of person where if I'm in a public space and someone nearby does something that I think is rude or impolite to do in public, I will often just get hyper focused on that and nothing else. And all I can do is concentrate on exactly what that person is doing. So an example of this would be someone talking really loudly while surrounded by others who are either not talking at all or doing so quietly. You're in a situation where everybody's being fairly quiet, enjoying like private conversations with each other. And you have this one loud person over here who's kind of yelling to their friend and now disrupting the entire room. I then focus on that person and I can't even concentrate on anything else. So I do tell this to myself as much as I say it to you, because focusing on that behavior it's an impulse that I really do try to curb when I'm on vacation, because I don't want to spend my vacation focusing on someone else's rude behavior. It just ends up causing me more stress, and they have no clue. They have no clue that what they're doing is bothering me at all, nor do they care, even if I were to tell them. Can you think of any unwritten rules that I forgot? If so, please drop them in the comments below to help out any future cruisers. And then check out this next video. And then come back next week for another video designed to help you have an amazing cruise. Have a blessed week.